Welcome everyone to Comic-Con's at-home music for animation panel. I am Keith David, and joining me as moderator today is my fellow actor, Alan Tudyk.
Thank you, Keith. Hello,
Why did he say it like
we are
that?
excited today to dive into some of the music behind some amazing animated shows. Let's get started.
Okay, well, first up, he has scored amazing animated projects like The King of the Hill and J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales. Welcome, composer Roger Neal.
Hey.
Roger!
Hey.
My boy.
Here, thank you. We gotta wait for the crowd in Hall H to die down. This is Comic-Con. There's a lot of fandom happening right now. Shh, everybody. Come on, we gotta get through this. All right. Next! They are the incredible music duo behind Disney Animation's Olaf's Frozen Adventure and Apple TV's Central Park. People, that's an amazing show.
Love that show.
Welcome, songwriters Elisa Samsel and Kate Anderson.
Yeah! Next,
I'm not recognizing
he created
anything
music
so
for
far.
Our favorite turtle teenagers in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon. Welcome, composer Sebastian Evans.
Oh my God, it's Sebastian Evans! Next, Keith and I have both had the pleasure to work on the super cool, awesome Harley Quinn animated series for DC.
Yay.
Welcome, composer Jefferson Friedman.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Happy to be here.
And finally, he scored the music for Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, and orchestrated on films including Frozen 2. Welcome,
I know that one.
composer and orchestrator Tim Davies.
Hi, good to be here.
In the house. All right, panelists, this is your first question. It's worth $25,000. Our first question to everyone. What is the most fun thing you love, about creating music for animation?
Oh, wow. Well, there's so much that's fun about writing for animation. I think for Elisa and I, it's that our brains have always kind of written in that kind of way of really, really big thinking and big dreams. And oftentimes our theater producers will call us and be like, hey, we can't have a dragon, or we can't have like seagulls singing. And so that's why writing for animation has been a really good fit for us in a lot of ways, because it's kind of like anything's possible. And especially with Central Park, we can write a song and then they take that and turn it into like a rap video or a hip hop kind of thing, or like a flashback, or just any kind of thing that the music is speaking to. They'll take it and blow it up.
Right, and we come from theater, so in theater you can only have so many actors and so many costumes. So on Central Park, that big opening number that we start the series,
Why do they sound like they're in like an anime or something?
represent all the people that you would see in Central Park. And Kate and I lived in New York City for a long time, so we wanted to have the hot dog vendors singing, the halal truck owners singing, the people rowing boats singing, the people exercising singing, and people selling mangoes and churros. And so we wanted them to all have a line of the song, and in animation we get to do that, whereas it's like the best way of letting your imagination run wild.
Well, this next question is for Sebastian and Jefferson. Now, you both have worked on series featuring characters who have previously been depicted on screen. For Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Harley Quinn, did you look back at the previous approaches to the music? And how did you make it your own?
He seems like he's taking this way too seriously.
Actually, since I started working on Harley Quinn, I've had a personal, I put the kibosh on watching anything DC. Up until that point, I'd probably watched basically everything DC, but as soon as we started
I've
the
never
show,
really watched anything DC.
I self-imposed a moratorium on that, just so that my memory of those other scores would be more of like an abstraction of those kinds of sounds for those kinds of characters, so that I could do something that was kind of in the tradition, or in the sounds like part of the canon, but was unique to myself. I didn't want any sort of literal DC music stuck in my head while I was writing.
Roger, King of the Hill, one of my favorite animated shows.
Mine too.
Most well-known show. It was on for an unprecedented 72 years long run.
Bro, that's a long time.
I scored every
What,
episode for 2 years too.
That's crazy.
That's what I heard. You're a god. What is a favorite moment? If you can sift through it all, what is a favorite moment from creating music on the show over those years?
Well, it's tough. I mean, we did in actuality 13 seasons, so I can't quite do that. It's a lot. And the scores were done with small orchestras, which is a real pleasure. You know, just like to do a recording session every week with a group like that. But I'll tell you, I think you can answer your question this way, Alan, is that when it first started out, you didn't really know what the sound of the score is going to be like. It seemed, you know, the show was in Texas, so it seemed like guitars should be involved somehow. So that was pretty much all new. And I had this first episode early in the first season that kind of had a thriller vibe. Like we had to kind of like discover some mystery, and there was some peril. And the way that the animators and writers had created this particular episode, it seemed very Hitchcockian. But I thought I was supposed to score the show with electric guitars because it just, no one told me otherwise. I was just so I ended up writing the score that was like, it sounded like Psycho, but with a rock band, you know. And it was fun as hell, and it was the only solution I could come up with, and it really worked out well. But then it's after that I think the producers and us all decided, you know what, if you're going to make an orchestral score, let's just do an orchestral from here on out. So it was after that we changed the format. But that was a way to solve a problem, and it was really fun.
There you go, something different. Elisa and Kate, I know you guys said you come from the theater, so I'm very interested in this. You are working with the hilarious Josh Gad on Central Park. Now, tell us how you got to be involved in the show and how you bring so much humor to its songs.
Well, we first met Josh Gad on our first animation project, actually, which was Olaf's Frozen Adventure. And that's actually where we met Tim Davies that day too, when we were recording the orchestra. He was our conductor. So we met Josh on Olaf's Frozen Adventure, and
Yeah, I can't unhear them being in an anime of some kind.
Human being we'd ever worked with, and we
Is it
sort
just
of
me?
sent a prayer out into the universe that we would get to work with him again. And then, Kate, what happened?
Well, we were both living in Brooklyn and sort of hoping that something would come along magically. Working on theater, you're always kind of like, oh, okay, we've got like 4 years till this is going to be anything. So Josh reached out on, of all places, Instagram, and was like, hey, can I talk to you guys about something? And we were immediately super intrigued. And he was like, hey, do you guys know who Lauren Bouchard is? And we were like, yes, of course, we're huge Bob's Burgers fans. And he was like, well, actually, we're going to like create this animated series together. Would you want to be involved? And I think at that point, I dropped the phone and started crying, because that's literally like, like you never think someone's going to call you up and be like, hey, do you want your dream job? But that's what happened that day. Yeah, it was so nuts.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Keith's
really
laugh
cool.
then.
So, yeah, it was so nuts.
That's
and,
fantastic. Now, my next question is for everybody. Have any of you gotten a chance to use a unique sound, an art instrument, or musical Easter egg in one of your scores? Let's start with you, Roger.
Yeah, it's a good question. I do a lot of animation scoring. I also do a lot of just feature film scoring as well. I'd like to buy myself a new instrument. It's like, a present to myself.
Sebastian.
Yeah, every series I've worked with, there's always an Easter egg drop, and I love hearing from fans when they heard, did you use on Transformers, like, the transforming sound in the beat or episode 3? I'm like, I definitely did that, and that was for you. And they're like, I knew it! And I guess all throughout Turtles, too. I guess Turtles was basically, thematically, I used things. I took things from different parts of iterations of Turtles and did pieces of themes. So yeah, I'm always dropping Easter eggs. I'm an Easter egg dropper.
Tim, did you have an Easter egg that you?
Well, I was just going to say, in Troll Hunters, I remember Guillermo telling me at the very beginning that the trolls were made of stone. So I thought, oh, let me, sample some stones and rocks, and I could only find some like little stones and bricks in my backyard. So I got all excited, and I'm in my nice hardwood floored studio, and I get there with the microphones, and I get 2 bricks. And I don't know if everyone's tried smashing 2 bricks together, but it creates a hell of a high-pitched noise, and then the bricks just shatter everywhere. So it was a bit of a disaster, the brick sampling. But the stones actually sounded really cool, and I would use them anytime the trolls were fighting. The sort of the ticker was these stones.
Oh, cool.
And that sort of became signature. I didn't get any emails from any fans. I'm not sure if I didn't have any fans, or they didn't know my email, or no one noticed.
Kate, Elisa, do y'all have anything?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit less destructive than yours, Tim, with the bricks. But some 2 really cool things about Central Park is, one, the main character, Birdie, that Josh Gad plays, he's a busker with his violin in Central Park. And I actually used to busk myself with my violin in Central Park. So anytime you hear in the score or in the songs, if you hear him playing violin, that's actually the same violin. It's me on the same violin that I played in Central Park, which is really special for me. And Kate is an incredible singer, and so if you listen carefully, you can hear her doing backups.
You have to listen really, really, really carefully.
Well, Cyndi Lauper was one of the guest artists for the 2nd episode, and on one of Cyndi Lauper's songs, Kate got to do this beautiful operatic voice in the intro to the song. So that's Kate.
Wow, yeah.
It's cool, yeah. It's really quiet, but it's cool. It's cool that I can say that.
Raj, now we worked together on J.J. Villard's Fairy Tales. What is your favorite scene that I was in, that you scored, and why was it so wonderful?
JJ's a nut. He's like seriously disturbed man, who I love so much. We do these crazy animation things where characters would just be talking, and then their internal organs would fly out of their ears and just fill up the space, and then recongeal into some other entity like some bunny, and then change back to to the original character, just like for no reason, just because he's
Well, that's weird.
so just have to find ways to make that to happen musically. He's such a great writer. I hope you enjoyed working with him as much as I do, because his characters are so cool. And every time, I will tell you this is true, Keith. Every time a new episode would show up to me, I would say, who are those great voice actors? Like, the performances he got time and time and again were really wonderful. Really vivid.
It's some of the greatest fun you could ever have, because it's like you get in the booth and you get to do all these weird physical things because nobody's looking at you and you're not acting with anybody else. And many times I say to myself, I'm getting paid to do this. I mean, no one's looking, but no one knows how much fun I'm having by myself here. For our audience members who are less music savvy, and for me too, actually, can you describe the differences between the positions?
Basically, the composer writes the music, gets through the whole process with the director, the stressful part, the part where you don't know what you can do tomorrow, because if your music's thrown out, you can't do anything but rewrite the whole episode. That part of the composer thing, that's sort of the bit that I don't enjoy. That's why I still orchestrate, and that's why I went down that path anyway, because I enjoy, as an orchestrator, the composer's been through all of that, and they've written the music usually in their computer, and then they send it to me to write the score and to sort out, when they did 8 revisions and just piled up 7 orchestras worth of music. Now I go through and sort it back down to 1 orchestra and make it work. And if they've written something impossible, I make it possible. I decide how we'll record it. Do we break it up? Do I just change it? you know, like I'm, you know, the orchestra is like my favorite instrument, the whole thing. So I can trick it into doing things, and I know when something's really hard for them, I have a good sense of knowing that, and then I know how to make them do things. So I kind of, the composer does it all in the computer, and then it comes to me, and then I make the score, and you know, then go and conduct it. But anyway, I do actually love you know, anything to do with playing with music and musicians. You can count me in. I do a lot of arranging for hip hop artists and that sort of stuff, and I have my big band, so I do a lot of things. I always wanted to be diverse. I think I should have been like around in the 50s or 60s when like Nelson Riddle and Neil Hefti and Quincy Jones and all of those guys, Herman Kostel, you know, all these guys that could do everything. One day they were in the studio doing a TV episode, and the next day they were working with Sinatra, and then they were working on a musical, you know, and I just love waking up each day to something different and nothing repetitive.
Well, one thing is for sure, when you're a singer in front of an orchestra, there's nothing like having that support and that sound behind you. That's like, it's like I died and gone to heaven, you know. It's like,
Yeah, and I love that, like when you're the first person too. So like, I mean, recent example, Frozen 2, I orchestrated and conducted that for Chris Beck, and we played 1 and 1, the first cue. And when we did Frozen 1, it was just, you know, sort of like another day at the office. No one knew what it was. It was just this animated thing with a lot of icicles everywhere. And then it became this massive thing. So going back for Frozen 2 was like, we knew we were doing something special, and it was going to be, you know, really cool. And so playing that first piece of music and seeing the title come up, and you're the first person, you're sort of closest to it, to hearing it. And then you're the first person as the conductor that gets to sort of mold it a little bit. I mean, ultimately it's Chris's baby, but you know, I do remember there when the choir started up and everything, like the goosebumps, just thinking, wow, I mean, I'm in sort of a bit of history here. And you know, so that's what, you know, conducting gets me into those situations where I remember first time we heard the Ant-Man theme when we recorded that. I mean, it's like, who would do a superhero theme with pizzicatos? And but, you know, Chris did it and it worked.
Yeah.
So I love that part of the job.
fantastic.
Elisa, Kate, you've been friends for a really long time. How did you begin your collaboration, and do you have any advice for friends who want to work together in creative space?
Yeah, we met, well, we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, actually, of being writing partners. We met 10 years ago in a wonderful writers' workshop in New York City called the BMI Layman Angle Writers' Workshop. And so we were paired with each other the first day just by happenstance and totally hit it off. And I think love at first right. And I think then at that point, it was very much like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there were more female songwriters in the world? Let's do that. And then we just committed to each other and have been writing ever since.
Isn't that wonderful?
We sort of have like a philosophy, and it would be my advice to anybody who works with a partner is find somebody who you genuinely think is a genius and work with them, because if you both treat each other like geniuses, then your relationship is inherently built on trust and respect and admiration of each other, and you're never going to have a battle of egos or a clash of what you want to say. And you know, it just really helps to unite your vision and to be able to put out into the world something that you're both equally proud of, even if like one person had like 70% of one song and you were 30, or there's always going to be a check and balance in that way. And so you just can always, we like to think of it as like everything we write is us. It's Samsel and Anderson. It's not more Kate or more Elisa. It's just, it comes from both of us. And yeah, and it's so fun to go through all of this as best friends too. It's been a blast.
That's great. Continuing a brilliant tradition of musical theater. Rogers and Hart. There's a lot of great teams.
Oh yeah.
As artists, oh, this is for everybody. Are there any causes or organizations that you are passionate about supporting?
When I sort of started to get successful and have some money, I thought it was time to give something back. And I knew a lot of other composers were involved with a group called Education Through Music, Los Angeles. I mean, there's a national part, but the Los Angeles part I'm involved in. And so we raised money to put music into disadvantaged schools in the Los Angeles area. So I joined the board of that, and that's my sort of little thing that I do. I think it's it's really important that everyone that gets to our position has their little thing. And so that's been
pretty
mine,
cool.
and it's a great organization. And then I've roped in lots of other people that I've worked with to help out or join boards and all that sort of stuff. And it's a really, really cool organization that does a lot of things. And I was lucky to go through primary school or elementary school when the government provided music education for every kid. You could do whatever you wanted. You could pick any instrument you wanted. And I picked drums just because it was on Tuesday and I wanted to get out of class. But that's how I started and became a musician. And but a lot of people now don't have that opportunity. So it's important to give kids that opportunity, and all the studies that show that people that do music, it improves lots of other things. And even if they don't go on to be a musician, it's a great thing. Like all of the board is full of lawyers and doctors and a few people like me, but most of them play violin still or piano still and all of that sort of stuff. So definitely there's something to it all. But that's my little baby.
That's a great organization thing. But thank you for supporting that. My story, I think, is like you, where I received great music education in school. I started my career, and that education has not been available in those schools for decades now. So I too do teaching and do donations and do mentoring for musicians because I just received so much great mentoring throughout all of my formative years, and I feel like it's just so important to get back to that, because here we benefit, we're professionals, we have careers. I don't know how I would go about it now because the resources aren't there if are free, it's not available anymore.
Well, I wanted to ask everyone a question as well. Given the current events and the need for greater representation of diverse voices, what can the creative community in Hollywood do to support that?
I'll jump in and just say, I think creating examples, taking a chance on someone with a more diverse voice and a more diverse background, and in doing that, you're creating an example for a younger artist to see themselves and believe that they too could have their voice represented in that way someday. But we have to continue to allow that kind of growth in the representation, and then hopefully someday we'll have a world where it's a vast array of voices and no one would ever think like, hey, I don't really have a place in that world. I think the more somebody can see that they are represented, the more of a chance they will have in being able to have a place, I guess, in this industry.
Well, let me ask a question about that representation to all of our panelists, because we as composers, we're essentially independent contractors, so we have choices in who we hire. So we can make choices there about how broadly we can choose to address representation. We also have choices in who we work for or work with. Like in my case, I'm very, very proud and happy when I'm able to work with directors who are women, because that's an underrepresented area in Hollywood, which is increasingly addressed, and I enjoy that. But it's those are just some of the few areas where I personally have any power over representation. In my case, how do you others feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Me, I guess in my personal experience, I really feel like growing up, always wanting to do this job that I'm doing right now, but never seeing anyone besides maybe Quincy Jones do it. Just seeing other people do it. I think you never know what's possible until you see it happen, So I guess I grew up with a couple of examples, but if directors or people in the industry are willing to not just go with the next person that they know and have worked 100 times with, but are actually exploring other people, I think the diversity will happen on its own. And I think there's a whole bunch of, I'm basically a unicorn as far as I know. Like, I've seen a couple, but it's kind of rare that there's other black composers, But I know they're out there because I've met them. But as long as there's more representation of us out there, then we'll see that it's possible. And then maybe other kids go like, oh, I could do that too. I don't have to be, put into a box of doing a type of music or a type of entertainment, Like, that's also possible.
I'll tell a story about Harley Quinn, which is the first 2 seasons of Harley Quinn. One of the major plot lines is this will they, won't they between Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. And for some of the fan base, particularly younger LGBTQ audience members, that is the most important storyline. And at some point in the middle of season 2, I started thinking about the whole show as an allegory for how hard it is for people to come out of the closet, and started writing the score that way. And then there's a big scene in the middle, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it. They consummate their relationship with a big kiss, big, huge romantic kiss at the end of an episode in the middle of the season. And it's they kiss after they've been hanging from a vine in a pit in a prison, and it's just like so metaphorical to how hard it must be for some people to come out. When the episode came out, it was toward the beginning of the quarantine. I was having like a really, really terrible day, as a lot of us have lately, and that moment helped so many people. I was on Twitter, and there were like so many young lesbian girls who were like, that actually like made their lives a lot better that day, and it felt so good to be able to be a part of that. And so, I mean, in my personal life, I do activism, but I think that whenever you have the opportunity to help tell a story that makes things more diverse and makes life better for other people, I mean, that's why we're all doing what we're doing, right? We're not just jesters. We're trying to like affect our audience members' lives positively.
Amen.
I think if there's one thing that we as musicians do differently to a lot, and maybe we could get everyone in the world to do it, is we do a lot with our ears and not so much with our eyes. And I think if everyone could look with their ears more, then the world would be just a better place, because it takes a lot of the things that we're talking about would be out of the equation. And I think in a lot of our lives, we go with what we hear, and that it just that one little way to level some playing field. Not the solution, but it's just something to think about for everyone.
Well, everyone, I think it looks like that's all the time we have today. I want to say thank you to all of our panelists, Roger, Jefferson, Kate, Alyssa, Sebastian, and Tim, for being here with us today and for sharing their wonderful stories and expertise.
Thank you, guys. Thank you also to Impact 24 PR for putting this panel together, and shout out to the amazing Comic-Con International team, and to all of you for watching. Thank you. You can check out social media handles for cool panelists in the description below. Be sure to share your thoughts on social media using #MusicForAnimation and tag us at Impact24PR ! I'm Alan Tudyk.
And I'm Keith David. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure, and see you all next time. Peace.
Have a good con, y'all.
That was better than I thought it would be. I kind of just found myself just sat watching, listening to what they were on about, rather than actually speaking, which is what this is meant to be, but I don't speak much anyway, never mind. But yeah, that was pretty good. It's pretty chilled out. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say. Walking Dead panel tomorrow, which is going to be sick. So I'll be doing something on that as well. So yeah. If you haven't watched any of the other stuff, go watch that. And yeah. See ya!